Hi, this is John. I'm here to make another video again. This time I'm going to discuss why I believe the Lamanites remnants are located in the south of the United States and the Jaredites remnants are in the north of the United States. So I have an outline here that's kind of color-coded, and the sources are indicated in yellow and the quotes are indicated in orange. So my first reason why I think there's a separation here between two groups in the Americas is Haplogroup X. Now this is referring to mitochondrial DNA from the mother's side, is highest in concentrations around the Great Lakes area. And here's this, let me show you where this scientific study is located on the internet. This is the title. It's from Science Direct. And in the discussion portion of the article, it says, our analysis confirmed that haplogroup X is present in both modern Native American and excuse me, and European populations. For the Native Americans, this haplogroup encompasses approximately 25% of the Ojibwa, 15% of the Sioux, 11 to 13% of the Nucha-Nulth, 7% of the Navajo, and 5% of the Yakima. So I'm just going to go here to a map that I've drawn. In this, I've also highlighted what I believe are Jaredite locations in the north. I'm just going to show you where all these tribes are that I just read. So if you look here by the Great Lakes, there's the Ojibwe. In the northwest, here's the Yakima. The other tribe, I'm not sure how you say this, Nucha-Nulth. This is up here by Vancouver in Canada. Navajo, now the Navajo is kind of an interesting exception. It's down here in the southwestern part of the United States. I'm not sure why they have haplogroup X among them. I would guess it's because they came from the north in Canada, and when they migrated, they intermixed with some people along the way. That's what I would guess, or they brought people along with them. But the Navajo is kind of an exception, or it's kind of in its own geography there. So, let's go back here to the outline. So there's a kind of a debate of whether or not haplogroup X came, if you can see my hand here, whether they came across an ice shelf when there was an ice age from the east and maybe made their way down the St. Lawrence River. There's also a debate whether they came from the Bering Strait like this. There's even further debate of whether they came across the ocean with boats. But that one's harder to prove because they haven't really found any artifacts of boats yet that suggest this. But so this, I'm going to highlight this study right here. This is the title. You can type it in Google or go to the links down in the description. But there's certain portions I wanted to read from this study, and this suggests that the most likely scenario is that haplogroup X came this way, so from East Asia to the West Coast. And I'm going to read some portions from the study. This has to do with genetic research. They've actually found certain mutations on this haplogroup X, which indicate that there's a connection to the Altai region in Asia. Now, for those who don't know, the Altai region is up here, kind of on the border of Mongolia and Russia. So here's the quotes. These lines of evidence, speaking of the evidence in the article, together with recent criticism of similarities between the Clovis and Solutrean cultures, Now, for those who don't know, the Solutrean is I believe it's a Western European culture, kind of by Iberia or Spain, that were cited by Stanford, strongly suggest that Haplogroup X did not reach the Americas via an ancient European migration. To the best of our knowledge, and this is at the end of the article, to the best of our knowledge, this is the first evidence of Haplogroup X in prehistoric America to be confirmed using both control region markers. Now, control region markers, I think, is when they test certain locations on the DNA, and the diagnostic restriction site gain in the coding region. This verifies a prehistoric presence of Haplogroup X in America that is probably derived from a Siberian source population. So that's talking about the Altai region, because the Altai region is close to Siberia. So now there are certain haplogroups that are very specific to the Ojibwe tribe. That's this X2a and X2g. Altai region has X2e, so there is a slight difference there, but there is a suggested link there. It's more likely that it came from that Altai region than from Europe. Okay, let's go on to reason 2 here. Now, for those who don't know, Kennewick man, he was a specimen that was found right here by the Columbia River, and well, let me see if I can find Kennewick, Washington. He's actually named after the city of Kennewick, Washington. Oh, so it's just right there. You can kind of see the Columbia River there. But anyways, he was found one day by some, I believe it was some young men that were going to a boating show. And they just happened to stumble across a skeleton. But anyways, he's one of the most studied specimens in archaeological history. And what's interesting about it is when people first found him, they didn't really know what his ethnicity was, because he has some characteristics that appear similar to Native Americans, but he also has some characteristics that appear similar to Europeans. So there was kind of some doubt of whether this man was actually Native American. They actually first thought he was a colonist, perhaps, from maybe the Lewis and Clark expedition. So now, one of the things with Kennewick man, though, is they've done multiple tests on his age, and they still haven't pinpointed what his exact age is, which is kind of throws some controversy on this issue. But what I did here is, well, first of all, I'll tell you where I got this information from. I got this information from the channel Uncovering Lamanite History. He cites this paragraph in his book called The Face of a Nephite. Now, just so you're aware, he believes Kennewick man was likely a Nephite. I'm kind of taking the opposing standpoint, and I think he was a Jaredite. But he quotes this in his video, or actually in his book. He says, the actual carbon test results for Kennewick man produced a wide variety of dates, ranging from 2,100 years ago to 8,400 years ago. And he actually lists all of the dates right here. You can kind of see where he lists all the different dates and tests done. What I decided to do, I don't know if this is an appropriate way to do science, but what I decided to do was I made an Excel spreadsheet. I gathered all the dates into kind of a low, mid, and high range. And then keep in mind, these dates are listed years before present. They're not years BC. BC would be before Christ. Before present would be before 2024, which is the current year. So, so if we look at these averages here of the high, mid, and low ranges, I calculated a kind of a general average, a weighted average of, this is the important part right here, general average of 3,300 BC. Now, 3,300 BC is still a long time ago. I mean, maybe it's not quite as old as the 6,000 BC year that they assume he is, but you know, it would make more sense that this man was probably a Jaredite, since the Jaredites came a lot earlier than Lehi's group in 600 BC. So, and I would just emphasize that water and soil can contaminate the results from carbon dating. I'm not sure the degree to which it can do it, but it really depends on, like, think about it this way. Carbon is kind of the code of life, so to speak. So anything that has life forms or decayed or dead life forms or decayed life forms can like maybe throw the results off a little bit. So for example, if you I think they've done studies that show if you have a marine diet, possibly the carbon in there can make you appear dated younger. That's kind of the general idea. I'm not sure if that's exactly correct, but so that's reason number 2 why I think Haplogroup X is connected to Jaredites in the north. So number 3, now this one's actually kind of interesting. The Ojibwe tribe, which again is located by the Great Lakes, have higher concentrations of blood type O than the natives in the southeastern portion of the United States. And this rare O blood type is found in Kuwait and the Altai region. So this blood typing could connect the Jaredites to the Kuwait area at one time, and also indicate that they traveled across Asia. Again, the Asia connection is to the Altai region. Now, one thing that's interesting about Kuwait, I'll show you here on a map where Kuwait is. Kuwait is right here, kitty corner to Iraq, and it's right here on the tip of the Persian Gulf. So Kuwait is actually probably where Mesopotamia was in ancient days, and it could be close to where the Tower of Babel was. So we understand that the Jaredites left after the collapse of the Tower of Babel, and when the languages were scattered. So, if anything, I think Haplogroup X indicates more of a connection to a more ancient source, something possibly around the Kuwait area of the Middle East. So one thing that indicates this is the blood typing. Let me just show you a couple interesting points here. This man in his video channel of Uncovering Lamanite History also highlights this in one of his videos. I don't know if you can see this map on my screen, but if you look here, this is blood type O. This is a map. So blue would be the highest proportion of blood type O, 90 to 100%, and then it fades down to 50% with white. Now look at where the highest proportions of blood type O are. They're in the pre-contact Americas. This would be before Columbus, among the Native American populations. And look at right there. There's a red spot right there in the Altai region, which I mentioned earlier. That to me is really fascinating. I think that shows that these Native Americans, which actually blood type O is very common among Native Americans. I mean, some portions here it's as high as almost 90% or higher. So I think that most of the Native Americans came from the Altai region, from East Asia or from Siberia. But here, I'm going to scroll forward in his video. You can see different map. Now, this is blood type A. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. If you look at blood type A, it has more of a presence here in Europe than in the certain pockets of the world. But look at right here. This is probably one of the primary reasons why I think that the Southeast Native Americans have different genetics. Because if you look right there, there's a percentage of about 20 to 25% of them have type A, but it's not common in other parts of the Americas. Again, this is pre-contact, so pre-Columbus. So this might make more sense. I said I would explain in one of my videos why I drew the map this way. So let's go here to reason number 4 about why I think Haplogroup X is separate from the Lamanites. This one's actually kind of important too. For those of you who don't know, Haplogroup X is common among the Druze in the I spelled that wrong. In the Middle East. But the Druze religion appears different than the Hebrews. This suggests a different place of origin than the Hebrews, unless the Druze converted at one time to their religion today. And these quotes are from the Wikipedia article on the Druze. It says the Druze faith originated in Ismailism, which is a form of Shiite Islam. And then it says also that today, most of the Druze live in Syria, another large part live in Lebanon, and a smaller portion live in Israel and Jordan. So let's go here to a map. Here's those 4 countries. You can see Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, Syria. Most of the Druze are up in these countries, with minorities down here. So just the fact that they don't live in Israel anymore, and also the fact that they seem to have a different religion origin, suggests that they may have came from a different location. I would even suggest that they may have came from Kuwait a long time ago, because it's really not that far. Another thing I'll just mention real quick is I believe there's been scientific, I mean, I can't highlight them in this video, but maybe I'll talk about them later. I think there's been scientific studies that show that the Middle East, the parts that right here that you see are desert, they used to have more water and rainfall, and there used to be more lush and more, like you could just grow more. Like, maybe a bit more tropical, I guess I would say. Maybe not tropical, maybe that's going too far, but anyways, possibly one reason why these people moved from Kuwait to the west was because of the climate or the weather. Okay, so this is the last reason why I believe these 2 groups are separate. So this is reason number 5. It suggested that Lehi traveled by sea around Arabia, but the Jaredites traveled by land across Asia. Now, why did I get the idea that they traveled by land across Asia and also across the Pacific Ocean? Well, if we read an Ether, let's go here to Ether chapter 2, verses 5 and 13. So here we are in Ether chapter 2. And it came to pass that the Lord commanded them that they should go forth into the wilderness. Wilderness usually implies desert, uninhabitable areas. Yea, into that quarter where there had never man been. And it came to pass that the Lord did go. Now, when it says never had man been, that would probably be on some of the outreaches of the continents, I would guess. I think East Asia would be a possibility. And it came to pass that the Lord did go before them and talk with them as he stood in a cloud and gave directions whether they should travel. Let's skip here to verse 13. And now I proceed with my record. That's talking about, well, whoever's making this record. I think it's either, well, it's probably either Mormon or Brother Jared. For behold, it came to pass that the Lord did bring Jared and his brethren forth, even to that great sea which divideth the lands. So it makes it sound like they had to travel a while before they got to the great sea that divides the lands. So we've already confirmed that Haplogroup X most likely came through the Pacific Ocean. So let's assume right here that they're talking about the Pacific Ocean dividing Asia and the Americas. And then it just talks about how they pitched their tents. So there's my 5 reasons why I believe, again, that the Lamanites. Let me show you this map again one time. This is a map of all the current Native American tribes in the as they were found in the Americas, and I did highlight certain locations which I believe are very possible for the remnants, and why I think that these two are separate, based not only on scriptural evidence but genetic and scientific evidence as well. Keep in mind that these Lamanites probably have different genetics too, because I don't believe Haplogroup X is as common down here. There's other haplogroups, and I've gone over those in some of my other videos. So anyways, that's all for today. Have a great day, and see you later.